And we're back. So we've done the Home Alones, we've done the big ones. Only a few more entries from the guy. It's insane for how big he was in our childhoods. And suddenly he's just gone one day. But we'll get there. So Rookie of the Year.
Oh,
Joey, why don't you give us a little bit of a plot synopsis? I like this movie, but I think you really like this movie.
I love this movie. This might have been the first movie I had taped off television. Um, well, not even television, like pay-per-view, so it had no commercials, but
Nice.
taped it. 12-year-old Henry Rowan Gardner breaks his arm. He's a baseball player. When he gets the cast off of his arm, he can throw really fast, and he becomes the pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. Love that movie. Daniel Stern directed it and plays Brickma, the pitching coach.
That's right. And if we could actually pull up real quick here. Again, this is another one of just the weird Daniel Stern's YouTube page, YouTube account only has like 3 videos on it, and they're all super random. But this one, he does a video on his transformation into Brickma.
Do you know how much I love you? So I was watching the Cubs.
Still looks exactly the same.
I thought it might be funny to do a little Brickma. So I bought a hat. I bought the uniform.
I think he recorded this the year that the Cubs finally. Oh, shirtless Daniel Stern, guys. That's what you're missing out if you're not watching the video. But yeah, I think he recorded this in 2016 when the Cubs finally broke like an almost 100-year curse, more than 100-year curse actually, and finally won the World Series.
I'm going to start with the number 6.
Oh God, he goes in depth. Is he gonna cut his fucking hair here?
Some room for error. You still watching? Cubby's uniform.
This is insane that he did this.
Oh, baby, getting thin up there.
So this is supposedly supposed to be him getting back into character. It's just him cutting his own hair and shaving his beard so hard.
How we do lefty? Baby on. Fresh. He's a little older.
Let's play some ball.
He's a little wiser. Hey, you still got it. Oh, yes, you do. Now, let's see what kind of damage we can do. Good to see you, Brickma.
So in that video, he still has the tag on the hat and the jersey, which makes me think he completely returned those.
I love that movie. That actually, whatever happened to his friend?
I don't remember his friend.
There were 2 friends. There was like the bigger kid with the blonde hair, and then the
you mean Henry's friends?
Yeah. Henry's friend.
Hold on, real quick.
The
We have more Brickma clips.
Okay.
You see, after the game, a lot of guys like to ice.
My favorite part.
Still, other fellas think that heat is the way to go. But I discovered the secret, Henry. Hot
ice.
That's right. Hot ice.
You heat up
The ice.
the ice cubes.
It's the best of
Like
all.
both worlds.
Oh yeah.
The ball. Now bring it to me. See what I did there? Huh?
Gary Busey is pretty fantastic in this movie as well.
Mm-hmm. Everybody is. I genuinely think that is a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a typical like sports movie with with like a kid protagonist, but it was a
star of the 90s Thomas Ian Nicholas, who would later go on to appear in American Pie. Also,
and,
kid in King Arthur's Court, one of the most baffling adaptations ever.
do you know there's a sequel to that starring him?
American Pie 2.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Wait. Hold
No,
on.
a kid in King Arthur's Court. There's a sequel to it. It's called.
Wow.
Hold on, a kid in
So it's an adaptation of a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, like a 1700s, 1800s book where just like, what if a colonial American found himself in the time of the Knights of the Round Table? And then somebody had the idea of like that, but with a little kid.
It's called A Kid in Aladdin's Palace.
That is fucking bonkers, Joseph.
Starring Thomas Ian Nicholas. I don't know how I never knew about this movie. Like I saw A Kid in King Arthur's Court, but I never saw.
Dude, I only saw Kid in King Arthur's Court once, and it was it was the family movie night at a campground when I was like 9, and it was bad even then.
Yeah, A Kid in Aladdin's Palace, 1997.
Jesus.
Stars Thomas Ian Nicholas.
And then 2 years later, he's fucking fingering Tara Reid. How?
Taylor Negron is the genie. He was
Taylor
the guy.
Negron rules.
Yeah, okay, you know who he is. Well, for those who might not, he was
Easy
the
money
delivery man. Yeah, Allison, I am so bad.
I'm so bad. I should be in detention.
Oh, great.
Also, great bit part in Biodome. Oh yeah, that's what you said. The pizza delivery driver, right?
Well, not the pizza delivery guy in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He delivers to the classroom where Spicoli's eating. He was also on that Mary Kay and Ashley show.
Oh wow.
I forget which one. They had many, but I think it was. I don't remember what.
Well, rest in peace, Taylor Negron, because Taylor Negron was awesome. Some real quick details. Rookie of the Year was competing directly with The Sandlot in the theaters that year. Following the year, so many little kid sports movies at the time. The year before there was Little Big League and Angels in the Outfield. I think the next year there would be Little Giants. Constant coming of age kid centric movies in the 90s. Next movie we have after that, City Slickers. I never saw it. I don't know.
You know what? I never saw City Slickers 1, but I saw the second.
Randomly, yes, the same thing.
Multiple times.
Legend of Curly's Gold.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I like countless times.
Same with
Short Circuit 2. I've never seen
the original.
I've seen the second one many times.
See, Joe, you know where I think this happens? And I think this gets, you know what should be our first Patreon episode? We should just do like a half hour of reacting to old trailers for these movies. Because what I was going to say is that the reason I saw City Slickers 2, the reason I saw Short Circuit 2 is there were other more popular movies I got where those were the previews on the VHS.
Oh yeah.
And that was enough. If you're going to the video store before streaming, it's like a nothing proposition. It's $3. Do you remember how cheap the fucking video store was? It was like $2 to rent a movie.
Yeah. New movies were $3 and old ones were $2. And then like in my local video store, every 10th one you got a free rental.
And yet if you were late, it was somehow $500 fucking dollars. Like they acted like those things.
Not so much in my local video store. They weren't like Blockbuster. That's why I have nostalgia for not Blockbuster, my local video store. Which would have been like RST or whatever, but like they had everything, and if they didn't have something, they would get you a copy. Like I remember going in and asking for Maniac Cop and then being like, we don't have it. And then literally the next time I came in, they were like, did you still want to get Maniac Cop? Because we got a copy for you. Like that was the kind of place that was.
All right. We are 100% doing an episode on video rental memories because God, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The final film I have on our list is Bushwhacked. Joey, could you give us a plot synopsis on Bushwhacked?
Let me read you the back of this VHS tape.
All right.
Packed with sight gags and unexpected hair-raising action sequences, this entertaining comedy adventure stars Daniel Stern as bumbling delivery man Mad Max Grabelski. Accused of murder when a scatterbrained get-rich-quick scheme backfires, he heads for the hills with the cops on his trail. But once there, he's mistaken for a world-famous scout leader and suddenly finds himself supervising six Ranger scouts on their first overnight expedition. I love this movie. My favorite part of this movie, favorite joke in this movie is That's a pretty tough hike. How bad could it be? It's this far. Because he's looking at the map and he holds his hands up like this on the map. It's this far. Like anyway.
I remember I always liked that. This was one of the movies of the '90s where they have to introduce at the last second, like, what do you mean? There's a girl in the Boy Scout troop. I'm surprised.
And she's like more badass than all of them,
of course. And then they use her training bra as a slingshot later on. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
I'm really surprised they never really inserted a girl into the Sandlot, which I'm sure one of the sequels that was the first thing they did, but
they did in the sequels. Well, in the first, I guess it was because it was the '60s. I don't know if because that movie took place in the '60s, but I don't know.
Was that before the invention of girls?
Yes.
Okay. Wendy Peppercorn
I
is
just
the only
mean, like,
woman you need.
No, I mean, but back then, like even in the movie, he's like, you play ball like a girl. Like back then, that was an insult. So it might have, that might be why, because of the time period the movie was set in.
Oh,
not that women can't play baseball and are great at it. I'm just
not as good as men. One of my favorite.
What the fuck? Fuck you, Jesse. Anyway.
Name me one female baseball player that is better than the worst male baseball player.
I don't even know many male baseball players, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But
guys, for the listeners, what you need to know is Joey is not a particularly woke person. He's really kind of apolitical. So the fact is, when he's responding here, it's not out of any kind of like, I'm voting for AOC. It is solely because Joey is a good person and is somehow still friends with me, despite the horrible things I say, think, and do.
Well, I know deep down that you are a good person, despite all of your massive flaws, which is why I am still your friend, even though you say some heinous shit. And I'm not apolitical, really. I'm definitely not conservative.
Listen, my point is that in the modern parlance, there are still plenty of like, gotcha woke liberal people, and you are not that person. You are just a good person. So
I just don't want to. Where it comes from for me is I genuinely don't like hurting people's feelings, so I don't want to. That's just what it. So like, if someone tells me I'm hurting their feelings, I'm going to listen to them and be like, I'm sorry, that was not my intention, and I will do better to try to not do that. That's just how I look at it. So
I don't want to hurt people's feelings either, but I definitely want to tiptoe and tap dance up to the line.
And that's your prerogative. Which
God, I don't. So I don't know if I ever told you the story. Early into my relationship with Perry, we got invited to a barbecue with a bunch of comedians. It was supposed to be a comedy show. It ended up not happening. But while we're all hanging out in a circle talking shit, and there's like comedians, non-comedians there's this girl who starts telling a story of like, oh yeah, I was coming home from work. Like I was putting the key into the knob at my Center City townhouse, and a guy walking by just slapped me on the ass and was like, oh, that's terrible. And then she said, yeah, he was a chef too. And then immediately I picture like a Chef Boyardee chef hat, like, hey, I had a good chef. Oh, look at that bottom. What's that? And I made a crack, like, maybe he was having a really good day. This girl burst into tears, and I felt so fucking bad. I have not been invited back to this friend's house again, but I managed to. I immediately went to the girl and just been like, look, I'm hanging out with a bunch of comedians here. We're a bunch of fucking animals. I forgot you were a regular person with actual feelings and would maybe not like ha-has attached to your sexual assault. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, you should apologize for that.
I did.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say is one of my favorite things. Do you remember the name of the character who is the famous Boy Scout leader? I don't remember the character. Spider.
They called him Spider. But that's what the yeah.
So this guy pops up in a few random movies. He is a Franciscan friar in Sister Act 2, but years after I saw this child movie, Bushwhacked, I finally saw the Paul Newman classic hockey movie Slapshot from the 70s, and this same actor plays like a pussy hound on the team, and everything he says is sexual. So I'm going for like he's this straight-laced guy in this. And now I can't look at him without thinking like they ought to cut the legs up more in the costume. You can't see any ass. There's a lot of great snacks down in Florida.
Wasn't he in Canadian Bacon?
I don't remember that one. Probably. He's been in a lot of things.
That was Michael Moore's only narrative movie, non-documentary movie.
Oh,
Starring
interesting.
John Candy, Rhea Perlman.
I
remember loving that movie. I haven't seen that in many, many years, but that was funny.
I had been looking.
Sorry, it's like the Wag the Dog. It's very similar.
Okay.
It's a similar movie. Wag the Dog's probably better, a better movie, but I like both of them.
I've still never seen Wag the Dog because I remember my mom and stepdad went to see it and they walked out during it because they're fucking rubes who don't understand politics.
I can understand the ending of that movie being a little depressing. Canadian Bacon, not so much. That's more the happy version of the two movies, I guess.
I was gonna say, I really need to go on a John Candy movie thing. John Candy, Home Alone 1, the Kenosha, Wisconsin Polka King.
The only time I had ever heard that word before 2 years ago. Whatever that.
So, Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's where Kyle Rittenhouse stood his ground for good or ill.
Oh God.
Yeah.
For nothing. Anyway, Bushwhacked. Great.
No. Let's talk about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Wait, no. John Polito's in this. John Polito plays the FBI agent that's after him.
Who's John Polito?
He's the guy that looks like Danny DeVito, but isn't.
Gotcha. He's in like Matilda and shit like that.
Yeah.
I think Danny DeVito's in Matilda too.
Well, Danny DeVito directed it, but he also plays his brother on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He passed away a couple of years ago. But he went to my high school.
Very cool.
John Polito. He was in Mimic 2.
He's another guy. He was he was in The Crow. He was the pawn shop guy. Yeah, he was in a million things.
Peter Boyle also went to my high school, unrelated, but those were the two famous people that went to my high school.
The only person who went to my school was Big J. Okerson, and he went there for 6 months. Anyway, so some notes on Bushwhacked. Even though it was popular on VHS and with kids, bombed at the box office. Following the film's failure, director Craig Beeman moved back to television, with his final credits being a bunch of movies on the Disney Channel. At one point, this movie was pitched as a Home Alone spinoff starring Marv. Again, more cool shit with Daniel Stern. Enforced by Daniel Stern, who he was a big method actor, purposely avoided any swimming lessons or exercise training that was suggested to him, as he felt that declining them would make his character seem more inexperienced. This is a cool thing I found on TV Tropes. They have a segment called Precision F Strike, which is when a kid's movie. Oh, what? What's it say?
This is literally what you're talking about. Is on the back of the VHS tape.
Really?
Hold on, it says, while the film's young stars all received extensive physical training for their numerous mountain climbing, hiking, and hazardous swimming sequences, Daniel Stern chose to avoid all exercise. He felt it could only help acting to remain as out of shape as the bumbling character he portrays in the film.
I like that.
It's above everything I read earlier, which is, I don't know why anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, one of the categories on TV Tropes is Precision F Strike, which pretty much this just categorizes, like, you know how every PG-13 movie you can get one fuck in and it can't refer to sex. So they refer to that in this one as the use of the word shit. Because again, the kids movie, there was a Sandlot. All right, let me ask you, Joey, do you remember in the Sandlot the one time they say the word shit? I'll give you a hint. I believe it was Timmy or Tommy that said it.
He's in deep shit.
Oh man, he's in deep shit.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I had to think of it. I don't. Yeah. Oh my God, he's in deep shit. Yeah. After he kisses Wendy Peppercorn.
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that in those kids movies when they would sneak in the one F word or the one S word. You and I have talked about Degrassi a lot. Apparently a huge cultural moment in Canada. The original Degrassi series that Kevin Smith was such a big fan of, they had a made-for-TV movie of basically the kids' summer between high school and college. And it's revealed that the main character, Joey Jeremiah, who Kevin Smith later ruins his fucking setup. And it's Caitlin, too. Yeah, it's Joey Jeremiah and Caitlin, who Kevin Smith later comes and seduces. Caitlin finds out that Joey has been cheating on her. So every kid in Canada is watching this movie. There's not a lot of cursing in TV in Canada. And uncensored in like 1991, the line comes across on the air, uncensored. You've been fucking Tessa Campanelli, to the extent that this is considered one of the biggest moments in like Canadian television history.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Man, I would love an episode we did. It was just cursing in kids' movies. It would take a lot of research, but that would be fun. One final note here. Unfortunately, it is a sad one. 20th Century Fox had been interested in giving Daniel Stern more comedy vehicles in the future, but when this film bombed, unfortunately, they were revoked, and we did not see much more of Daniel Stern.
He was on Workaholics, and was he in Game Over, Man? Was he in that?
I've never seen that. I have no idea. Are you referring to Aliens, the place that line is actually from? Yes, he played the xenomorph.
No.
He was the smallmouth.
The last thing it says that he was in was I'm looking at. Never mind. That's because this person is dead. I'm not on the right IMDb at all.
Oh.
It was Taylor Negrons. I was like, oh
yeah, he's dead. He's dead.
15.
Yeah. So the final thing we have here is post film career. Daniel Stern has become a respected sculptor.
He was in Game Over, Man, which is the movie with the guys from Workaholics, the three guys from Workaholics. It's like Die Hard, but they're he was on Angie Tribeca, the TV series Manhattan, House of Lies. He was on Workaholics as well. And
my favorite cameo on that show was Lori Beth Denberg.
There's a show called Shrill that I guess it ended in 2021 that he was on.
Mm-hmm.
But that was on.
As you can see here, he's quite an extensive sculptor. Has installations all over the place. That one in the country of Monrovia. Really, really cool. I mean, yeah, you would not think from the Marv years that he'd have this kind of post-stardom thing, but that's awesome. I've
always loved him. I wish he would. I would love to work with him at some point. That was back when we were going to make a certain movie that never happened. He was one of my picks to play one of the characters.
Which character? So I know.
The owner of the place, not the coach. Like their child.
Oh, gotcha. That movie. Okay.
That movie that never happened.
Cool.
But I would have loved to work with him. I would love to work with him, and I would love to work with Sinbad. We need to do a Sinbad episode.
Dude, write it down. Write it down and get it back to me. We'll have a shared file.
This Shazam thing, which I'm convinced I found out why people keep thinking this, because they would show Sinbad's First Kid, the movie First Kid starring Sinbad on the Disney Channel, and following that they would show Shazam starring Shaq. Literally back to back, they would do this all the time. I have it on tape, and for a second I thought, because at the end of the tape I taped First Kid. I told you I love Sinbad, so I taped it off the Disney Channel. At the very end of it, it says, "Coming up next, he's big, he's bad, he grants 3 wishes. NBA All-Star or NBA ball player, whatever." They said NBA, and I was like, "It's Shaq," and then the tape cut off.
Interesting.
So I think that people are literally just misremembering the one movie with the other, combining two. They were both on around the same time.
That one's at least an actual Mandela effect. So many of those, I bet you didn't realize that you've been spelling this. Like, yeah, people misspell things. That doesn't mean
right.
Go fuck yourself with your Berenstain Bears. I don't care. That doesn't mean anything.
But I'm telling you that,
a Mandela effect would be like, actually, they were all pandas, and the father
right
beat his wife in one. Like, I don't remember.
like Green Lantern was Red Lantern this whole time. Like that would be like what?
That'd be a big Mandela.
That was like no,
like,
but that tape, because I for people that don't know, I one of my hobbies is digitally transferring old VHS tapes to find old commercials, stuff like that. And one of the tapes I had from when I was a kid, I taped Sinbad's first kid off the Disney Channel. At the very end of it had a preview for Shazam coming up right after the movie, and I just genuinely think that is where this started. I because that movie does not exist. And then people will show the clip of Sinbad talking about it existing, but it's clearly a joke.
Yeah.
He's like, I asked everybody to give me back their copies. like really, people? Like
that's so funny.
Anyway.
All right. So anyway, Daniel Stern, everybody.
We got I went on a Sinbad. I went on a Sinbad tangent. I'm sorry.
Tangents are fine. That's what podcasts are all about. But I think that's it for this. And especially since you and I are recording 3 fucking podcasts this week, I think we can call it right now.
For this one.
By the way, did you say Halloween Spirit is open near you?
I don't know. I just saw that there was a big opening for it.
Oh, okay. Well, we need to find one because the one near me isn't open. We need to get wigs for reasons you don't need to know yet. You'll find out in a few weeks. I'm Jesse. I don't have Joey. Do you have anything to promote?
Sort of. I'll save that for the next podcast though. But I did sign agreement deals for my claymation stuff, so I got.
Hell yeah! Oh yeah, streaming things. Woo!
Yeah, I got distribution for some claymation stuff, which blows my mind. But I'll talk about when I know when it's premiering. That's when I'll officially announce everything.
Guys, if you want to come see me do comedy on August 12th, I will be at the 700 Club in Northern Liberties, Philadelphia. You can find all these things on my Facebook or my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Jesse Dram. Follow at Joe Garifo. On the Thursday, the 18th, I will be still in Philadelphia at 12 Steps Down with Lemaire Lee, who you may remember from the Matt and Shane podcast, also the Panties in the Mouth podcast, and Comedy Black Sheep at the Black Sheep Pub on August 22nd, Monday. Yeah, Joey, that's the next step is we have to start going on other people's podcasts to promote this podcast. So we might have to go on Panties in the Mouth and talk about mouthing panties.
Sorry, my friend Sonny just texted me. Apparently, my package that I sent him just arrived at his house. The Lloyd Kaufman autograph I sent him. So, Sonny, hey, I'm glad it got there.
Hey, shout out, Sonny. This is the podcast.
Hey,
we're gonna end this episode like we end every episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Fuck, that is what we're doing, I guess.
I guess that's our thing now.
Okay.